There are factors that are particular to IT. The factors of the changing shape of IT, the fact that the frontier of business value from technology is moving beyond simply the delivery of excellent value, high performance IT services. Not that that goes away, that doesn't become easy or cheap, doesn't become less important. But beyond that, there's the delivery of value around the assets of business processes, business information, and business relationships. So you add all of that together with the changing technology foundation, and you add all of that together with all the external turbulence that's going on. It makes life very complicated for IT organizations and for CIOs right now. The big factors that are driving this are really threefold. Firstly, factors to do with the changing business expectations of what they want from IT. Many more businesses are using IT much more centrally to their core business activities. The second thing, of course, is that the whole foundation, the whole platform that technology works upon is itself moving forward, becoming more complex, becoming more feature-rich, with developments in hardware, with developments in software as a service, developments of alternative delivery models, the increasing prevalence of consumer technologies within businesses. And then the third area is as CIOs themselves change their leadership roles. Many of them, not all, but many, are becoming much more directly leaders of businesses, leaders of business transformation, for example. IT's particular contribution to that is to understand how those different possible futures might affect the kind of technology you need, the kind of value you need from the IT organization, how you source things, the skills and capabilities of your people, how your business makes decisions, governance, in other words, among other things. So at the end of it, you can say, we've looked into the future as best we can. We've looked at all the different possible alternatives, and these are the extremes of the responses we might need. The real situation will probably be somewhere in the middle, but you can identify what would be common no matter which way the world goes. And that's very helpful because it says typically we can build our people capabilities, we can build our infrastructure in a standardized way, no matter what else happens. And you can also say, well, we need to prepare possible competitive advantage for different alternative worlds. Because when it becomes clear what's going to happen, it's too late to start the planning and too late to start the activity. One of the most complicated things about trying to align business strategies, actually, we're even perhaps using the wrong word. Maybe it should be engage business strategy and IT strategy. One of the most complicated things about that is that IT has been designed through all its processes and methodologies, ITIL and PRINCE and all the service management and project management methods, to be predictable, to operate in a relatively smooth kind of sine wave sort of pattern. Business drivers don't work like that at all. They're very spiky. The external world changes all the time, up and down, backwards and forwards, very unpredictably. And there's a big mismatch between those two things. So the most fundamental thing that business and IT can do to get better engagement is simply to understand where those standard smooth services are unavoidable and where the IT organization needs to generate much more agility within itself, with its suppliers, with its technologies, with its architecture. What's happening now is that the CIO's role in many businesses is moving beyond the delivery of technology per se. It's moving to the delivery of business change, to the creation of business transformation. I personally have met a number of CIOs in several different continents from several different types of business who would explicitly say, even though their title may still be Chief Information Officer, they would explicitly say that really they are the main champion of creating business transformation. Not that they own it all, but they are the champion for creating that capability within their business as a whole. So it's an entirely different role to what a CIO might have been doing 15 years ago, and I think in another 10 years' time it'll be an entirely different role again. In a recession time, the CIOs need to have a balance a slightly uncomfortable balance, frankly, a balance between doing some very specific tactical things, saving cost, reducing the cost of their operations, helping the business to save cost, making sure that very short-term issues are taken care of in terms of the viability of their suppliers, for example. Very short-term, very pragmatic, very tactical things. And at the same time, they need to make sure that their business stays in good order so that when the recession, the downturn ends, because end it will, when it ends, maybe at the end of 2009, maybe later than that, they need to make sure that two things happen. First of all, they haven't cut so hard or cut so aggressively that they damage the organization's ability to scale back up again. And secondly, they absolutely need to make sure that they've put in place the conditions that make it possible for the business to innovate, because even in really tough times there are always opportunities for businesses to do new things. So it's a really quite complicated leadership balancing act. One of the most important things we do say to people is that they need to communicate that. They need to be explicit about the fact that they're making a balancing act, particularly because if they spend the next couple of months going around cutting costs, everybody in their organization who works for them, everybody in the rest of the business will think, this person has now suddenly become a cost-cutting expert. Actually, what they need to be is an expert in balancing, and they need to say, I'm a balancing expert. Just, you'll first of all see me cutting costs. Later on, you'll see me doing other things. And my sense is that people are watchful, people are careful, people are perhaps a bit more subdued than maybe they were a year or two ago, but I don't get any sense that they're depressed. In other words, they're being purposive, they're working through a difficult situation and they're dealing with it. I think what's going to happen in India and much of South Asia is that growth is going to slow, and that will characterize the way that businesses happen. Businesses deal with things here. In other parts of the world, CIOs are much more concerned, and in some places they're genuinely scared. And I think at the end of this period of global rebalancing, restructuring, we'll have an entirely different landscape. It won't go back to business as it used to be. It will come to something different. And I think countries like India should be feeling very positive about that.